Hey, welcome back to the Pilot Mindset. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today is February the 24th. That means that we are 24 days into the 29-day consistency challenge. Well done. I hope everybody is fine. I hope that everybody has been able to stick with the challenge so far. Have you made the decision to keep on trying? Because tonight, this is what we're talking about, decision making. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time when you questioned your decision? Or when was the last time you told yourself, how on earth did I make this decision? I was so stupid. No, you are not. Let me explain. Let's talk about the way decision-making process happen in our brains. So we basically have two hemispheres. We have the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. So far, so good, right? Okay. The left brain is the one responsible for whatever is rational, logical, analytical. We're talking about reasoning. We're talking about the ability to process numbers, to process language, to have the ability to have a critical thinking. That's the left side of your brain. That also involved sequential and detail-oriented, capable of breaking down complex problems into smaller components. And of course, focusing on facts and figures, right? See the world through empirical evidence, objective analysis, right? Super rational. That's your left brain. Your right brain is the one that's going to be creative, intuitive. It's going to have the ability to visualize, a very powerful way of imagining, of shaping the imaginative world. So trying to essentially see maybe the big picture, allowing us to think outside the box. And it's also going to be allowing you to be emotionally intelligent, something I still need to work on, and nonverbal. So it's whatever is associated with subtleties, picking up on nuances, social cues, and also it's going to rely on your experience and, of course, your training. Well, guess what? Whenever we make a decision, we actually have an interplay between the left and the right side of the brain. There's a communication through a part of the brain called the corpus callosum that is going to allow us to have a seamless integration. And tonight we are talking about one of the most powerful way to make a decision in our life following the F.O.R.D.E.C model, or F.O.R.D.E.C if you want to call it this way. We use it in aviation, but you can use it in life. That's the beauty of it. And this is why I want to share it with you tonight. Facts, option, risks, decision, execution, and check. So let's break it down. Facts. Well, facts is pretty self-explanatory, right? So you are going to be faced with a difficult situation and you're going to have to make a decision. Well, you have to, first of all, build a situation awareness. And the only way to build a good situation awareness is to look at the data. So it's all about data analysis. You look at the data analytics, you look at the facts. You are going to build a mental picture associated with the problem. That's your fact stage. Then your options. So far, your left brain has been responsible for doing the sequential, detail-oriented work that we were talking about, the logical, the analytical part, right? The reasoning. It's all about collecting information, okay? Options. Now, it's going to be an intertwine between your left and your right brain, because what's going to happen is you're going to create the scenarios in your head that you could potentially choose, okay, based on the facts, based on what you have identified, based on the situation awareness that you've managed to build. And it's going to be a nice dance between the left side and the right side of your brain. The left side is going to be the one that's going to give you the facts. Okay, I have such and such and such and such and such numbers, so to speak, figures and details. What kind of imaginative scenario I can create with the right side of my brain? And so you're going to shape up those scenarios, and then you're going to create different options. Well, guess what? So as to choose the right option, you are going to have to assess the risks. And the only way to assess the risks is to, first of all, use your left brain, meaning being analytical, but also relying on your experience, maybe thinking of hidden factors that your left brain, purely analytical and purely data-driven, may have omitted. That's your risk assessments. Once you have the facts, the options, the risks, then you can make a balanced decision between the left and the right side of your brain. So, before we go any further, let me ask you a question. Do you think that you tend to make decisions more utilizing the left side or the right side of your brain? Or do you think that most of the time you make balanced, informed decision? Just think about it. Think about whether you tend to be more analytical or you tend to be more creative, more intuitive, relying more on your intuition, which would be the right side of the brain. Just think about it. Once you've gathered the facts, the options, and the risks, now it's time to make a decision, an informed decision. And so this is the beauty of it. This is like a beautiful symphony taking place. This is a beautiful symphony just playing, and the left and the right hemisphere are going to jive with one another. This is where the decision is going to be made. The execution. Now that the decision has been made, the left part of your brain is in charge. It's your left hemisphere that's going to roll out all the different little steps that will lead to the proper execution of the task at hand. And then, of course, as time goes by, you have the right, but also the duty to check that the decision you have made matches the outcome that you want. So you constantly reassess whether or not you made the right decision. You don't want to second guess yourself too often, because otherwise you have not applied the model correctly. But you want to ensure that the decision you made leads you, trends towards the outcome you want. That's the 4-deck model. Facts, option, risk assessments, decision, execution, and check. Now let's talk about an example. Remember yesterday I was talking about an engine fire for a pilot, for instance. Well, the 4-deck works perfectly, right? An engine fire in cruise level will be treated differently than an engine fire right after takeoff, when you know that you can return to your airfield very quickly. I'll give you an example. Maybe right after takeoff, you have an engine fire indication, and maybe you have a slight problem with the other engine. Are you really going to make the decision of shutting down that engine that yet is on fire, but still generates some thrust? some power if you know that you're going to be in the sky for maybe another 5 to 6 minutes? Probably not. Whereas if you're at high altitude, well, you're probably going to have to shut this engine down and secure this engine. And this will be following the F.O.R.D.E.C. The biggest thing you can ask yourself when you have to make a decision is, do I have time to think about? Or is it an urgent decision? Is it a split-second decision I have to make? That's a really good question to ask, because then the process is going to be slightly different. If you don't have time, you are going to have to shed few non-critical items. That's something that is very important as far as we are concerned. I'll give you an example. If after takeoff, we've identified that we have a fuel leak, do you really think that we're going to go through each and every detailed procedures that we're supposed to go through? No. Why? Because we know by experience that if we do so, we will most likely run out of time. And where does this come from? Well, believe it or not, it comes from your right brain, because your right brain is the one that relies on experience and training and subtleties and intuition. Your intuition derives directly from your experience. So trust your intuition as much as trust your analytical power. That's the message for tonight. Decision making is a complicated process, but if you follow this model, facts, option, risk, decision, execution, and check, reassess, it will help you tremendously. Now, there's a bit of a caveat with all that. Although there's an interplay between the left and the right brain, and this is why I ask you this question specifically, your left brain might lead you astray sometimes, whereas your right brain may be right, because your right brain is intuitive. But your right brain also might lead you astray because your right brain has a tendency to be more impulsive. So whenever you make a decision, think of the limitations associated with this methodology. In other words, think outside the box. That's all for tonight. I hope that you are still committed to this challenge. As far as I'm concerned, as you can see, I am still on it, in spite of all the roadblocks, in spite of the struggles, in spite of the steep learning curve, in spite of the methods that need to be refined. I'm still here with you on this challenge. Thank you for watching, and as usual, I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, keep the blue side up. Ciao.